Awesome. So I am super excited to introduce our guest speaker, Monique Harps. So who is Monique Harps? Monique Harps is a realtor in Northfolk, Virginia. She's been making waves in the real estate industry since 2018, providing exceptional service to her clients. Monique's expertise extends beyond traditional real estate roles. She's a certified referral trainer and events coach, which is appropriate for our training tonight, under the mentorship of Michael J. Maher, is I'm saying that right? Mayer, the esteemed author of 7 Levels of Communication. Through her guidance, agents can unlock the secrets to maximizing referrals and hosting successful events. So beyond her real estate endeavors, Monique proudly serves as an Air Force reservist specializing in cyber operations. That sounds super cool. Armed with a bachelor's degree in computer information systems, an MBA in supply chain management, and project management professional certification, Monique seamlessly blends technical know-how with strategic business acumen. So with her wealth of knowledge, today she's going to share with us on how to get more referrals with appreciation events. So helping real estate agents more effectively generate referrals from their sphere by hosting events. So she's going to teach us how to discover cost-effective methods to increase your referral rates through annual appreciation events. So really excited to hear more. We're going to drop some of her social media links for Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, so different ways that you connect. But without further ado, Monique, take us away.
Can you go ahead and provide the slides in the chat?
Yes, I will do that now. So for anyone who wants to follow along, I'm going to share some of the slides so you can do this. Oops, hold on 1 second. Trying to share these slides.
Okay.
So you can kind of follow along at your leisure as well.
Is the screen?
And I'll have something to reference.
Yeah. So is it sharing? Can you see it?
I can see it. Can everybody see it? Give us a thumbs up.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm happy to be here. And as Rachel said, we're going to talk about how to get more referrals from appreciation events. Thank you, Rachel, for the great introduction. So we will skip that part a little bit. And then I am going to talk to you guys about my very first event, which was Let's Milkshake It Up. And then why I do events and then get into the details of how you can have an event of your own and generate more referrals from there. When you go home today, there's no reason you couldn't walk away and execute and have an event in the next 4 to 6 weeks. That is my goal for everyone. So Rachel told all about me, but one thing I want to share is I included my 2023 production on here just to show like I'm not some agent out here who's doing 4 deals a month, 100 deals a year. I typically do 11 to 13 transactions a year in my market, and then however many referrals out of state that I can get. So nothing crazy, and I do it all by referral. So Let's Milkshake It Up was my very first event. I had been in the market for I've been an agent for about 1.5 years when I read the book, 7 Levels of Communication, going from relationship to referral. And I decided that that's how I was going to do my business. So I went away to training for 6 months for the military, and then came back and attended a training called Event Mastery. And that's where I learned how to do the Let's Milkshake It Up event. He teaches us how to do events, and this was mine. So to give you some background, it was a milkshake giveaway at a restaurant called The Cookout. You could do it at a Dairy Queen. I had 3 sponsors, a lender, home inspector, and a photographer. I collected used and new socks for the homeless. The event cost us $226 total. I invited 150 people that I had phone numbers for. I invited people that I met in the store. I was just trying to invite. I had about 48 attend. And from that, I got 17 buyer-seller referrals, whether it was the people raising their hand to buy or sell or recommending others. And from that, the people who attended the event, I did almost 1.7 million in volume, including referrals out, and then 39,000 in GCI. And with that, that's 171% ROI on the event. So here are some pictures from the event, from the photographer. Like, it wasn't anything fancy. Like, look at my sign. It looks like a 12-year-old made it. And like, go ahead. Oh, sorry. So we just had ice cream at this restaurant, milkshakes, and we had prizes. And that's kind of just where it all fell out. So why host events? Well, events are a great reason to connect with your sphere and your database without being like, you want to buy a house, you want to sell a house, right? It also allows you to give back to them. So in my event, I was giving them milkshakes, and then they were giving back to the community by bringing socks for the homeless. And we supported a charity that specifically supported the homeless, and then to have fun. But we cannot forget that we are in this to do business and make money. So the business goal is to generate referrals for yourself and your event sponsors. Types of events. So I'm going to give you a list of these events right here that you can look through, but I want you to know it's just pick an event that works for you. Keep it simple. And when I get into the details, I will use a milkshake event, but you can kind of substitute it. I mean, ice cream social event, but you can substitute any event in there. And it's important that you keep it simple so that you can invite more people. But also think about your annual calendar. So Michael teaches us to have 3 events a year spaced out for spring, summer, and fall. And so you can always be inviting. So you'll see how many times it allows you to connect with your sphere and create the opportunities for referrals to come up. Okay, so we're going to get into how to host an ice cream social. And this is kind of what the planning looks like, right? One week you plan your event, then you invite, then you have your event, and then you follow up. All communications to the people. So this is kind of what I follow, and I will tell you that I do it. It takes me about 2 hours a week. Your first event might take a little bit more time in the planning because you tend to overthink it because you're worried about everything. But once you get the hang of it, it takes like 2 hours a week, if that. So on our first week, we're going to plan the event. You're going to pick a date, time, location, the charity you want to support, your budget, and your sponsors. Don't overthink it. I pick a date and time that's most convenient for me. I typically do 5 to 7 or 5:30 to 7:30 on a Tuesday night so that I can be home by 8. The location, I always pick someplace that serves something because I'm not going to scoop ice cream myself. I am not going to make pancakes. The restaurant can do that. And it's typically free. The charity, pick something you like, pick something simple. Do not ask people to bring a really big expensive item to donate to something and for ice cream, because they could have paid for that ice cream themselves. So just keep it simple. Plus, you're going to have to figure out how to send it somewhere or get it, all your collection somewhere. So the budget and your sponsorship, that's something that a lot of agents ask about and they get really concerned about. So when you're planning, when you plan your event, plan the event with the budget in mind. Don't like plan this whole event and then say, hey, I didn't know it was going to cost me that much. Like if an ice cream cone cup milkshake is $6, I'll plan all my events for 100 people. Never have I had 100 people attend. One day, hopefully, but never 100 people attend. So that means I need $600. If I have other expenses, I'll add it. So then I go to my sponsors and I say, hey, will you sponsor $1.50 per person up to 100 people and provide a $50 or more unbranded door prize. They all say yes all the time because I'm asking for $200, essentially, right? And so compared to agents who are asking for 4,000, it doesn't seem as crazy. And I only need 4 sponsors for that, right? So you ask them, they say yes, you got your budget covered. For charity, think of charities you like. Think of something easy to collect. Like I said, I collected socks for the homeless, like super simple, found a charity, donated them. My favorite thing to collect is sensory toys items for autism or children with autism. But you can do anything. People have collected towels for the sensory toys items for SPCA. Even like if you did like a wine and cheese event, you could collect wine, have people collect and bring wine quarts. There's an organization that takes those. So just keep it really simple. Now, here's the fun part. This is the part where you're going to get into your referrals, right? So the power is in the invitation. We want to invite. Everybody wants to be invited, even if they don't want to show up. Many of you are probably those people. So just invite. Give yourself time to invite in many ways. If you go back in the slides where I provided the schedule of how I do things, each week is a different style of invitation. And you're going to reach people, some people multiple times, but some only one of those is actually going to reach them. But each opportunity, each touch is an opportunity to earn a referral. Like whether you're calling and saying, hi, this is Monique. My real estate team is hosting a ice cream social in June, and we would love for you to be there. Do you think you can make it? Right? You go into a conversation sometimes where they're like, oh, how are you doing? How's business? And sometimes the referrals come while you're inviting. And so just remember, invite. I helped a guy do an event this past 2 weeks ago. I think he did it, but he did not listen to me, and he only had 2 weeks. He only gave himself 2 weeks for his event. And while people turned out, he didn't get as many to turn out as he had hoped because he didn't give himself time to invite. He had to rely on what little he could do in that little bit of time. So in week 1 we were planning, week 2 and 3 we're going to do our invitations. Some like to send their invitations out by mail, but that costs money. And for the purposes of this training, I want to keep it as inexpensive and as close to free as possible for the agent so that the brand new agent could get up and running with this event. So if you have a little bit deeper pockets, you can mail your invitations. But if you don't, you can use something like a Google form. And this is what it looks like. Ignore the parentheses and stuff. This is an example for a training, but it's just a simple Google form that says, can you join, name, phone number, how many people will be there? Yeah, and if you want to like to invite a friend. And then I included the image of a printed invitation. So let me see if I can go back.
Real quick, as you pull that up, we had a question from Christine Sutherland. She said, so you're primarily inviting people from your SOI?
So I invite everybody. So when I do my electronic invitations, I send that to everyone in my database. And then as we get through the weeks of invitation, so for handwritten notes, that's one that sometimes I'll skip or I'll shrink down because there is a cost associated. So on handwritten notes, I always make sure that my sponsors get a note, my charities, and my top supporters in like real estate. So I call them my ambassadors. And those are the ones who have referred me business at least one time. And sometimes some people might say in the past year, but if they've ever referred me business, I want to make sure they get a little bit extra special touch So yeah, so that's kind of how I use it. So it's both my sphere and my database. And my database just through the years have gotten like people in it from different things. But I really try to keep everything by referral, just by the nature of not buying leads, but I have signed up for other like lead sources. And I met a guy, Dan Baltzer, up in like Minnesota, I think. He had an ice skating event where he invited his entire CRM. I think he said it was, he's been in business forever. And he invited like 6,500 people. And he had like a handful of these people they were like cold leads actually show up. So I would say invite as many people as you want. And the way I control the budget on that is on my invitation. I say the event is free, but space is limited. You must RSVP. They do not know if you only have space for 10 people, 100 or 1,000. They have no idea. You get to do that. You get to be the keeper of that. And then if you're going to increase the, like, let's say you're getting really close to 100, you can talk to your sponsors and say, hey, we're having a great turnout. Do you want me to open it up to more people? Right? Because they're the ones with the money. I hope that answered the question. So weeks 4 and 5, we're continuing on with invitations. Sorry, I didn't change week 3. We're gonna call all of those who have not RSVP'd to see if they can come. And then if the ones who did RSVP, we're gonna say, hey, we look forward to seeing you. So you see, it's just another opportunity for a touch. And I always make sure I use the words real estate. And when I say that, I'm not calling them to tell them about real estate. I'm just saying my real estate team. And if you are brand new or solo agent, your real estate team is yourself and whoever else helps you, your lender, your title person, your best friend who just drives around and puts out open house signs. Like whoever that is, that's your team. And then the 5th week, I'm going to send a text message to confirm, to be like, hey, we're just trying to get our final head count. Are we still on? And on week 5, that's the event week. We're going to have fun. I have an itinerary, and the itinerary looks something like this. Hey, when you arrive, make sure you check in or register with Chris from Atlantic Bay. That was the lender that sponsored my event. Drop off your donation with Robert from American Home Inspections, and then pick up your door prize from Stacy at whatever title company. So I give every sponsor a job so that they meet every single person at the event. They don't have to spend time in conversation, right? And then they come and get like a token that they can turn in at the register from me, right? So I send that out first thing in the morning. You can put this in your CRM to go out. You can manually send it. I use a Google Merge to send it from my email so that it all goes at one time. And then just send a text reminder that says, like, I sent you an email, what to expect. Can't wait to see you today. Because people will forget that they're supposed to be there, even if you talk to them in the morning. So just remind and invite. And then when you're there, have someone take lots of pictures. You can get a photographer or a friend. So I had a photographer and she donated her services and she was great. At other events, I had a friend who just took pictures with their cell phone or their big girl camera, whichever they had that day. And they gave me all the photos, but just have lots of pictures of the people, some with you, them enjoying the event. And then most importantly, have fun. So another place where we generate our referrals when we're doing events is we have a door prize entry form. And as you can see on this form, we ask who is the next person that is buying or selling or investing in real estate. And we ask for name, phone number, email. Everybody does not provide information, but somebody normally does. And sometimes like at the venue, people will come up that don't know you. And they'll be like, hey, I want a free milkshake or a free ice cream cone. Well, that's fine. Fill out this form. And they do. So you at least get their contact information. And the bottom portion is where we ask referral generating questions for our sponsors. So it says like, are you interested in getting cash out of your home? So if they circle yes, I'm going to connect them with the lender. You know, if they need cleaning services, I'm going to connect them with the cleaning company. And you want to keep those like two people that that sponsored your event, and you can do more if you're, you know, have other people you want to support, but it's a great way for us as agents to pour back into the communities that support us. And then week 6, you're going to follow up, lots of follow up. So we're going to call everyone who attended and referred someone because we want them to send us more people. But we also want to make sure that it's okay to contact the people that they referred us to. And then we're going to call those to attend and just thank them for coming. And for those who didn't come, we want to call them, RSVP and didn't come, and make sure things are okay. And then call those who didn't RSVP. So in here, like this list could be very long, but you're not really looking to call your entire database at this point. What you're looking for is to call those people who fit in these categories that are closest to you by sphere, or maybe they're clients, or they kind of support you on the outside, but they're not complete strangers. Like I don't spend that time there. If you have the time and want to spend the time to call everyone who didn't RSVP, that's fine. But I'm going to call like, you know, the family that normally comes to the event but didn't RSVP this time, just to make sure everything is okay and check in. And that's what the event is about. It's about planning event is about the opportunities to connect and be of service and to earn those referrals that we are looking for. And if you have scheduled your calendar to have 3 events per year, so for example, you have like an I Love You latte in March, February, March, and then June, July, you have an ice cream social. And then in November, you have a pie giveaway. You always have something to talk to people about. So bonus is if you're taking a lot of photos and you're on Facebook, you can share your photos on Facebook. I recommend in a group or on an album on your business page. I guess you could do it on your personal page too. But then tag the attendees, tag the location, tag and mention your charity and your sponsors. And then that way it just feeds the algorithm in a very positive way and kind of gets it out there so that, you know, on your next event, when people are like, oh, hey, tell me about it when it comes again, to their friends who attended, then maybe you'll have more people and it'll help you grow your database as well. Because even though you work by referral, it doesn't mean you don't meet strangers. And so my thoughts are, it doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. It doesn't matter how big your sphere or database is. Like you can scale these events. I know an agent who does events that have 250 and 400 people attend, because she's been in the business 20 years. And so it just takes time and it will grow. Keep it simple, but most importantly, take action. And I attended Event Mastery. That's kind of what this is modeled after. So if that's something you're interested in, here's the link to check it out. I do not get paid for that, but it helped me a lot, as you saw from the first slide. And I recommend it to everybody. Do we have any questions?
All right. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and throw them in the chat. Now is a perfect opportunity to ask away. I will open up with a question. So do you have any advice or thoughts on, you know, these are people that possibly are in your sphere of influence who are coming to check out the event. Do you have any ideas on like, what is the system for communication after, let's just say they attend? Do you have a drip campaign, or is it just like, how do you follow up, or what do you recommend for agents who
So like the way the schedule is, like once you do your follow-up, you have like 2 weeks before it's time to start inviting to the next event.
Mhm,
So you're like literally, it's almost like you're always inviting
mhm,
all the time. And you can do this virtually too, right? So I did a virtual March Madness with Mario Dove, and together we got 10 referrals, right? 5 buyers and 5 sellers, I think. And that was all virtual. They didn't even, nobody came in person. We used a Google form for our door prize entry. Uh, and we did a lot of inviting, so that people would sign up for it. And then now we just follow up, but then now it's almost time to start inviting to my ice cream social.
mhm,
Right, so I'm just always inviting. So some things I've done in the past with follow-up is if you get great pictures, like you have a photographer and you get great pictures, I like to use send out cards to send that out. So on my ice cream social, I was like, make sure you get a picture of everybody, right? That's what I told the photographer. And then they had a card that I gave them that put their name and the flavor of ice cream milkshake they got. So I was able to customize the message and say, hey, I hope you enjoyed your butterscotch milkshake. We were able to collect this many socks for the charity, and thanks for coming out and thanks for your support. And I got calls because people were like, how did you know what kind of milkshake I had? Right, but they told me, right? So that's something that you could use in the follow-up. And there's just not a lot of time before you start inviting to like have to have a drip campaign. And so I do manage communication around events separate from communication around transactions. Right, so if
mhm.
they are in the home buying process or they're a renter, they have drip campaigns for that.
Okay,
For
so
their
they're
agent.
getting multiple touches throughout the process, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's for things, so you're there for that. But
Mhm.
also, I think that's one of the things people don't want to be sold. They just want the relationship. And so the more that you're able to just establish that like
Mhm.
relationship where they don't feel like they have to give something to you, that helps as well. We have
Yeah.
lots of questions that are popping up. Ashley Johnson, did you say how often you're having an event? And I know you mentioned like 3 times a year, right?
Yeah, so this is what we call our all yap. So we invite everybody we know. Well, I invite everybody I know. And so I'll try to do one in late February, March, because I do that virtual one in March. I'm gonna move the February one to be right there with it, like a kickoff in 2025. And then in June, July, I do the ice cream social. And then in November, I do the pie day. Now I have a friend who's a Jehovah's Witness. And so she doesn't do the holidays. And so she will pick different events and do her events on a different schedule. Same spacing, but different schedule, so it doesn't fall in the holidays. And that's just for people who don't celebrate certain things, like Pi Day, they might not do that. So they might be like, oh, I don't want to do an event. But they could do a fall event in October and then just back up.
Mhm. Good point. Good point. Have you ever had a crowd with more than expected for the venue space?
Absolutely not.
Not yet.
Um, Not yet. And I never want to, right? I always want to have enough space and enough food, right? Um, the thing is when you're inviting and you're tracking your RSVPs, so something I didn't say, I highly recommend using some type of system where you can track the RSVP. Do not have them text you, do not have them email you, do not have them send a carrier pigeon. Use something that'll track it. Eventbrite, Evite, Google Forms, like something that'll track it. Because as you're keeping track and you're seeing like, oh, we only have space for 100 and we're at 100, then you can be like, okay, what is a backup plan? What is a contingency plan? But I will tell you, no matter how many people I invited, I have not gotten above 100 RSVPs. And no matter how many RSVPs I had, half of them actually showed up every time. So
Mhm.
even if I have 100 people, I expect only to see about 50 of them.
Okay. I think that's important to note, especially when it comes to event planning, because oftentimes you're planning around like, the numbers that you get. Even when you invite 100 people, you might get the 50 RSVPs and then 25 show up. And
Exactly.
so you have to try to like manage that because, um, of course you want to have enough for everyone, but you
Mhm.
also don't want to have too much as
Right,
well.
right. And that's a great point, Rachel. So I don't tend to do anything that isn't per person, right? So I'm not gonna go buy an advance ice cream.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go to the ice cream place where I know exactly how many I need. Pies are different, and so something I learned with pie giveaway is on pies, really focus on your sphere and your clients and the people who are your biggest supporters, because those are the least likely to flake out. So every year I might have 2 or 3 pies left. And then one year I was working with another agent and we were like, okay, let's offer pies to the people in our neighborhood and in our like calling list, right? Because we were on a team. And we had so many pies left over, and they were all the people who came off of that colder list. So if you're buying things in advance, keep it with your warm and your hot people. And I don't mean warm and hot transaction wise, like where they are. I mean warm and hot as far as close to you.
Mhm. Yeah. And maybe in that case, somebody you don't mind going to drop it off if they didn't show up to the event or something, you know, they'll
Yeah.
have a.
But I'm probably not dropping off your pie, to be honest with you. Right?
You
I already
didn't.
put all this work in. Thanksgiving, I do it on Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is 2 days away. The last thing I need to do is drop off 20 pies. So if it's 1 or 2, maybe, but 20,
Oh
no.
yeah, exactly. That's why
Yeah.
you focus on the people that are most important. And probably if they didn't get a chance to pick it up, hopefully
Mhm.
they're saying why.
Yes. Yeah.
There's the reason.
So,
Luana says, who could be potential sponsors? Do you want to throw out some ideas of people who have helped you
mhm.
in this?
So people who have helped me have been in the real estate adjacent, right? So they've been title, lender, inspector. I had a photographer. Do not use a real estate photographer for your event unless you have seen their portrait photography skills, because not everybody's good at that. But anybody who could benefit from knowing your people, house cleaning services. I know a guy who had like a foot doctor at sponsor his event, a dentist, mobile detailing, mobile mechanic, a mechanic. So like anybody, I like to think about who my people need to know in their everyday lives. Landscaping that has nothing to do with their house.
Financial advisors,
Financial advisors. Yeah.
yeah.
Because if you think about, we get those lists, like memory jogger lists of all the people that we can connect with, like pretty much anybody on that list. Restaurant owners, we've had people host at restaurants because they were friends with the owner and we're helping them get business.
Yeah.
So those are good ones.
And that's another thing to think about too, like depending on the venue you choose, establishing some type of relationship or partnership with that venue. They may be able to offer volume discounts if you have like a certain amount of people that
Yeah.
come out. And then, that they become a part of your sphere of influence because they see, people like to reciprocate business.
Yeah. And then if they have like,
Uh,
I did an event for agents and it was, I have purposely hosted it on burgers and fries night at a venue. Because like $10 burgers and fries. And, I'm going to tell you guys, sponsors have deep pockets. Like, just
don't be
give them
afraid to
the
ask.
opportunity. Yes. And remember, don't be afraid to ask, because you are giving them an opportunity to grow their business. So if you don't ask, that is almost equivalent to your friend buying a house with another agent,
Mhm.
because you did not
Yeah.
give them the opportunity to be there. So let them tell you no.
Yeah. And also to offer it in a way that's like, hey, I want to give you this first opportunity because I'm only allowing a certain amount of, but because we have such a good relationship, I want you to have the first opportunity. Then they feel like it's really, they
Yeah.
see it as not like, hey, can you give me some
Yeah.
money for this event? But I want to give you
Mhm.
the opportunity to grow
Yeah.
your business and get more connections.
Yeah. And use those words. I use it all the time. I'm like, you guys have the first right of refusal until Friday. And then after
Mhm.
Friday, we're going to open it up to basically, I'm going to go to your competitor.
Yeah. So I just want to point this out too, because I think this is a sticking point, especially if you've done business and you've referred business out many a times. It is a little bit tough when you have that, request from one of your partners that says like, hey, I'm looking to host this event. Do you want to participate? We're looking for sponsors. And they say no. Then I have to go find another lender or title or inspector to help me. And if they're willing to do it and you're not, then, why would I continue to send business to someone who isn't reciprocating that
Mhm.
same support? So I just
Yeah.
want to point that out. Like,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to ask. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to include those persons, and
Yeah,
don't
and
be
it'll
afraid.
change, right? The people you support and how they support you. I had a lender tell me because she's horrible about responding in timely fashion. She's like, Monique, if it's under $500, the answer is yes. You don't have to ask. And I'm like, well, I'm going to ask anyway. But you never know what they're out there, what they're thinking, what they want, you know? You don't want to take advantage of those things, but you do want to like keep that in mind that the more you ask different people different things, the more opportunities you give,
Yeah.
you'll receive more.
Lots of questions. Which social media platforms are you leveraging for invitations? I heard Facebook. Any other, um, like any tips regarding invitations via social media? Because you talked
So
about tracking things. So
so I am a Facebook user, and so I will create like a Facebook event with where my personal and my business page are the admin. However, it doesn't necessarily get a lot of traction. But it is a free resource that we have out there, and I do invite my people. Um, I do know of an agent out in Washington that has a Facebook group and does her invitations through there, but it's a very active Facebook group. It's called Toral's Tribe. So it's literally just 1,000 people essentially that are in there. And whenever she has an event, they post the event in there, but then they have a lot of post. They have a whole like communication sequence to post in there with the invitation link. Every sponsor they have like a post for that sponsor with like their gift, like their door prize. Um, and then they'll post all the pictures and the door prize winners and how much money they raised or, whatever from the event. So you
that's
can
great.
really leverage social media. And in there, one of the things that Michael teaches us, he says, send out an email that says, thanks everybody for coming, and let them know you've uploaded the images in the Facebook group and provide the link and say, hey, if there's any pictures you want us to take down, let us know. And then everybody's going to go around and look at the pictures, and then that'll grow your Facebook group with the people who weren't already in there. But that's about
Great.
all I do with that. I do send direct messages to people that I may be involved with online, but not so much in person, to get them to like bring them into my like in real life world, my offline world.
Are these venues typically open to the general public for your events, or do you have private time slots or areas of the venue for your guests?
Mine are open because if they want a milkshake and they're willing to fill out that form, I'm willing to pay for it.
Mhm. Okay.
Plus,
Um,
I'm good for 100 people, and I don't have 100 people, so I haven't run into like an issue like that. But if it got too big, like if I was doing a cookies and cocoa with Santa, I would probably do like a private room or like a multi-purpose, like at the rec center or something.
mhm. Okay. Can you give a quick example of what you would say to a venue who you don't know or have direct connection with, like to
So
establish?
I went into Cookout, and Cookout is like a Dairy Queen. Like they sell burgers and fries, but they have 40 flavors of milkshakes. And so I told the guy what I wanted to do, and I just said like, hey, I'm, doing an event where I want to bring in, 50 or so people for milkshakes, because it was like National Chocolate Milkshake Day or something like that, right? And he was like, oh, well, you're gonna have to talk to corporate. And I was like, I'm absolutely not talking to corporate. I said, is there anything stopping me from bringing 50 of my closest friends on July 10th at 5:30 to 7:30? He's like, no, we would love to serve you.
Mhm.
So like,
Yeah,
it's
I
not,
think
it's not complicated at all. It's really just like saying what you're doing. And I was originally going to go to Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A said no.
hmm,
So,
really
yeah.
interesting. So that's interesting, and I think it's good so that they can be prepared for like the
Mhm.
volume that they might receive. Um, but it's a good point. Like one, I want to recognize that like if you are like me, you're gonna work as hard as you can to overcomplicate this. Don't overcomplicate
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Just find a venue to say like, hey, you don't really necessarily need the reserve space, especially for your first event. Like, understand you're probably not gonna get 100 people at your first event. It may build up to that over time, but don't
And
overcomplicate it. And I was just gonna say, like, look for the small businesses too in your area that you can help support because they're always gonna welcome you with an open arm.
yeah.
They're always looking for new business.
And ask about like slow times. Like be like,
Hmm.
oh, is there a day that's better, like, for you? And then like sometimes the things might not be directly correlated. Like I remember there's one agent, she was having an ice cream like social, but she'd gotten the ice cream from like Cold Stone, and they had like put it in like little containers for her in a cooler. But she actually had the event at like a bar brewery that had like a slow time. So they might not be directly correlated. And thinking about ice cream, I once did an ice cream social in the park. I can't tell you how good it went because it got rained out real bad. But I just got the ice cream truck to come. And then they wanted you to buy $75 worth of ice cream for every 30 minutes that you had them there.
That's a good point too.
So you could
So
literally do this in your front yard.
maybe that's an option. Do you invite people in your farm via postcards?
I don't, because I don't farm anything. I'm gone too much.
Hmm.
So I have to I have to rely on like social media, electronic communication, phone, text, emails, to keep my business afloat. Cause I mean, last year, I think I was gone 120 days out of the market for whatever, work, travel. But, uh, but yeah, but if I farmed a neighborhood, I would most definitely invite them.
So I would say this, if you do have a farm, and let's just say you have a targeted area, maybe you're doing an open house and a listing, that's something you can incorporate as well, like inviting the neighbors, have an ice cream social. If you have like an ice cream truck or something show up, be able to provide that. It's a really great way to knock on some doors, invite people out. Um, that's always an option as well. Where do you have Pi Day if you do not have an office?
You can have it anywhere. You can have it at like if you know someone who has an office, you can have it there. You can have it. My friend had a Girl Scout cookie giveaway at an insurance office. You can have it at a brewery to have them pick it up. I think somebody had it at a pizza place one time. And these are agents from around the US that are doing this. And then, because I mean, obviously with EXP, we don't have, most of us are, working from the cloud. So you can have like, figure out like who can help you versus how do you do it, right? So be like, well, who do you know that has an office or has access to something, right?
Yeah, so like And if you have a vendor sponsor, like a lender, your
Mhm.
insurance agent, do any of those folks have offices that you
Mhm.
could utilize? A title
Fi-
company,
Financial
they typically all have
advisors.
offices.
Or let's say you're doing pies, you can go to a local coffee shop and have like hot chocolate and apple cider available,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's a way. So yeah, but you know what? Depending on how you feel, you could do it in your driveway. Cause I heard somebody said that they had people come pick, it was during COVID. They had a drive-by pie pickup at their house.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lender in California that actually has a pie pickup party at his house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard of those before too. Is there a day of the week that seems to work better than other days for those who may also work another job outside of real estate in the beginning?
Like I said, do it when it makes the most sense for your schedule because don't do it on Super Bowl Sunday unless it's a Super Bowl party. If you are in Texas and you are a big A&M space, don't do it on A&M football day. Like wherever you like, be mindful of those kinds of things. But generally speaking, no matter when you have it, somebody can't make it because of the time, the day, or the location. So it doesn't no matter where or when, people aren't going to make it. So
And I
just
want to point that out because I had an event one time and I was a little bit I had some glitches on how I sent the invite out. They weren't seeing it. And I was really just kind of getting nervous, like I'm not getting any RSVPs. So I started reaching out individually. And although I had an okay turnout, it was like a paint party, right? Again, too complicated. Don't do that. Want something small and easy. But it was really the communication I had, just inviting people, following up, like, hey, did you see the invite? Do you think you can come? And so many of the folks that I invited from my school were like, I'm so sorry I missed it. I hope I can make the next one. Please invite me. And so again, if you create this system, like Monique says, you have them planned out for the year. Keep it simple. You only need 3 between the first one, you're like, okay, well, if you're going to miss this one, no problem. But the next one is, and you can tell them about the next event and they can do a better job of planning ahead. But what you're really doing is having the communication. How many times do we want to make calls, but we get so nervous or wrapped up into like, what do I call them about? I don't want to feel like I'm selling them something. This gives you a really great way to touch base or connect with, people in your database without feeling like you're trying to sell them something. Okay.
100%.
Question that we have, you're more than welcome. We still have 10 more minutes, so drop more questions if you have them. All questions are great questions. Is charity always a part of the event?
For me, it is. Like, no matter how small it is, like, I'm not collecting anything major, right? But people like to give, right? And so they always want to know, what can I do to help, blah, blah, blah. And so I always have something and it's always small because once again, if it's big, I'm going to have to figure out how to get all this big stuff to where it needs to go. And so, um, there's a lot of people who need a little bit of help, right? So the sensory toy items are fun. I'm working with a human anti or like people who help survivors of human trafficking, and they're like, we need gift cards for Uber and Lyft because a lot of our survivors don't have cars. I would have never thought about that, but how easy is it to collect gift cards?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah, I just and don't overcomplicate it. If you can pick something local, pick something local. Um, you don't have to have a deep relationship with them. You can create that over time and yeah, and work with them, have them invite them, right? I invite them to invite their staff, to invite their volunteers, to invite their donors. And if it makes sense, invite the people they serve. Right. And so No one's really super duper taking me up on that, but now I'm on one of their boards, and so I'm gonna see what I can do there. But think about it, like, if they got 250 people on their donor volunteer staff list, that's 250 people that you could start building relationships with.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're looking like, okay, where do I find more people to add to my database? I think that's, what is the word? Like, if you if you're looking, I don't know, there's a saying, but basically when you don't know what else to do, give. And
Yeah,
oftentimes you will get it back 100-fold. I think that's important. Like if you don't have a charitable organization, or, kind of think like what kind of things are important to you, what impacts your life, and think about that, and then go find the organizations that you can help support. It could be, helping the homeless, helping
diaper
women,
drives, diaper drives
um,
for babies.
animal shelters. Like
Yeah,
there's so many different out there. Everybody needs help. So
yeah,
there's different ways that you can help support. Um, let's see. We have a question from Melanie. Have you ever used this format for agent attraction?
absolutely. So I use it, it's a smaller, like I haven't like done it where like I was giving them something out. It was more so like event, right? So I'll plan an event, like if I was doing this, a live presentation or whatever, and then I invite people to come and attend it, but I still followed a similar sequence for that. I have to admit, I was not as consistent with it. But as far as like a fun event, I'd love to do, and I'd love for somebody on here to steal it and tell me all about it, is I want to do a parade of gingerbread homes with real estate agents and all of like the vendors, like, and play it up like real big. That's what I would love to do, but yeah. So
Okay.
on the door prize entry form though, you would ask like, you could ask like, who do you know is like going to make a switch in real estate? Who do you know might be interested in events like this? Um, like those kind of questions. And then I would specifically ask the question, and I've seen this on other agents who do this, is, are you interested in learning more about EXP or whoever your brokerage might be?
Hmm.
Ask the question because you never know.
Yeah, very much so. Have you ever given out marketing materials, goodie bags for them to take home after the events?
Nope, nothing is branded.
Mhm. But it's not a bad idea.
I know other people who
Don't
are like, oh, I
overcomplicate.
give goodie bags, right? Like somebody has to assemble or whatever. If you have something like, so for example, I think Asian like 3 years ago had like promotional ice cream scoops made with like the
Mhm.
logo with the ice cream, and like it was just like a plastic one, and then like she gave those away. Um,
Yeah.
but it's not necessary. Like you can, if you start this year, you can always make next year and 5 years and 10 years later that much better.
The
So
key is
just,
to start. If you don't have the branded materials, that doesn't have to
yeah,
stop you from
just
starting the
start
plan.
now. And then so there's a guy named Don McNaughton in Northwest Arkansas. They have 400 people come to their breakfast with Santa. They had a reindeer one year, right? Like they have a letter writing station, a snowflake making station. They have breakfast. They have Santa. They had a reindeer. They had like blow up stuff. They give out a different teddy bear, like a little teddy bear, every single year, so people kind of collect them. Like, but his mom is his broker, and they've been in business forever, right? So we can get there, but it won't be our first event.
I can't stress that enough because I am the overcomplicated queen. And that's oftentimes I'll either get in over my head, or I will just take forever to say, like, I'm going to do it, and never do it. So this is definitely giving me some inspiration to just put on the calendar, say I'm going to do it. And something that's simple looks, I mean,
Yeah.
just meet me here. I will buy you some ice cream. and you just say that 100 times to people, and then
Yes.
that's it. That's all the event is. And you find some sponsor that's going to come help you pay for it.
And then inviting in general is helpful. I scheduled a lunch for this group I'm in, and all of one person I didn't know showed up. I sold her a house within 6 months, and she referred me to her daughter.
That's what we
So
want to
like,
hear.
just invite places, whatever, and it'll get there.
Mhm.
Someone asked if I have a station to pre-qualify if someone is interested. No, because we don't know that they're interested until they say yes on the door prize entry form, which isn't reviewed until after the event. Like the event is about the event, like nobody's selling, nobody's doing anything. And their job is to connect with the people so that those people know who they are. When I say, hey, do you remember Chris from the ice cream social? Like, that's the lender I'd like to connect you with. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's cool. And if he comes to multiple events and they do too, they start to build the rapport and know him and probably start referring him as well.
Yeah. So we have time for one last question. Regina, I have my real estate license. I have my real estate license. How do I get a sponsor to pay for my first month of training so I can enjoy the blessings of EXP with my family? So when you say, and I don't know if we need more clarity on this question, you say first month of training. Um, I'm not sure if I
What
understand
that
that.
means.
If you're wondering if like how do you get a sponsor, like maybe you're in your first month of training and you're trying to get a sponsor to help you with an event. I don't know, Melanie, I don't know if we want to bring this question to the stage, but
I will answer it from how do you get a sponsor to support you? And
yeah.
if there's clarification, we'll go from there.
Well, do you want
So
her to open her mic? Who is this asking this question? We got like a minute left. Regina, Tommy,
Regina, Tommy.
you can, well, is she putting a message in there?
she said, yeah. So yeah, if you want somebody to sponsor you, the biggest thing I think is to have a clear plan, right? And if you take the slides that, will you post the link again? The slides, like you can walk through and plan an event. You should be able to walk through and plan this event. And you say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm going to try to get 100 people there. And I'm asking for sponsorship of X dollars per person up to 100, and that's going to cover you for 100 people. And if you get 100 people, then like, good on you. Like, keep it up, do it again. And just have that plan for them and show them like where you're going, and that'll give them confidence. If they say no, there's another lender out there that'll be more than happy to earn your business. And so just keep going, and look at title, look at home inspection. Those are some easy ones for real estate. Maybe a financial advisor, an insurance company. And you don't need a lot. So price it out. If you only need $1 per person from 3 sponsors, then do that. If you need $2, then do that. But just have a plan and ask them. I did that with this lender that I'd never done business with, but I had a conversation. She was not on my first right of refusal. She was on my second list. And she gave me $350. And I asked her why. She's like, well, you presented it. I did a video to present it. And she said, you presented it in a way that like, I was like, you're probably going somewhere. So let me see if I can support. And I've given her a lot of business since then. So it was a good return on her investment. But there's people out there who will support you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the key. It's like, go with a plan, show that you're a professional, let them know what they can expect. I mean, it's a business owner, right? So as we are making decisions in our business, we want to understand a little bit about what's going to be the return on our investment, and what's going to be most important is knowing like, okay, how many people are we inviting? How many people are we expecting? So go with a plan and be able to answer those questions. We are out of time, and I want to say thank you to everybody who came out this evening to join us. Thank you so much to our speaker, Monique. I'm going to drop some information where you can connect with us on Black EXP Network. If you are not a member, please join us on Workplace. Follow us on our socials. as well as Monique. You can follow her on her socials as well. She's constantly posting workplace, some really cool things, really cool tools that you can use in her business. Next month, let me pull up the date. It's going to be June 11th. Join us with our next guest, which is Kendall Bonner. She's going to be an amazing guest speaker that's going to talk to us about, I believe she's still going to be talking to us about technology tools in the real estate space. That might change on the topic, but she's going to share what we know. She's going to share some really valuable information with our group. So other than that, one last question. Do you have to give your sponsor a receipt? Do you know?
I have been asked for one from my lender, and so I just give it to everybody, and basically it says like if they give 100, let's say it's $150, right? It's like, I'll put like door prize and ice cream, and then I'll list like all the value that they're getting, social media posts or whatever. I can find an example and share it.
Cool.
I'll
So
add it to the link.
What's that?
I was gonna say I'll add it to the link, but it's a PDF, so I don't think I can.
Oh, okay.
But if I can, I will.
Well, yeah, and also too, just reach out. So Monique is here. We have her information for her socials. Hit her up on Instagram, DM her. She's great. She's gonna be nice. I promise. She'll respond to your questions. But thank you so much for joining us this evening. We hope you took away something, but most importantly, we hope you take action. And we'll see you in workplace. Y'all have a great night.